I've now dried all the pages that I stuck down, so you can see what I've done is, while it was still a little bit wet, I've lifted a few with my fingers. So now my book actually looks like this. So now the next step is to create the edges around the book to give it more texture, and maybe add some to the main pages. It's really up to yourselves. Before I do that, I'm actually, because that will take a little bit to dry, I'm actually going to do the actual rice paper to just show you how I'm going to use this rice paper, because obviously some rice papers will fill the whole book, some rice papers don't. So what I want to do is I want to sort of position it so it's on the book and that the face all fits in. So as I can see, mine's all fitting in really well. So I know that I want to keep the face, and I'm going to use some parts of the other parts to actually move it across to the other side. So I'll be showing you that shortly. But first, let's start on this. What we've got now is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some structure paste. I'm going to take some 3D powder. And I'm going to use the metallic Glamour, which is absolutely beautiful, to do the edges. So let me get started with that. What I find easier is I just use a little tray and I add a little bit of these Coarse 3D powders, which are absolutely beautiful to use. So just be careful, because these are the coarse ones, and if you've done what I've done and had your lid tipped up or anything like that and you've had them open, you just need to be a little bit more careful with them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tip a few, not too many, to get me started into my little plastic. Let me just show you that, what I've just done. Yep, so you've got those in there. So that's where I've got to with that. And then what I'm going to do is, I've managed to get them over my book as well already, is let me move that to the middle so you can see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to add a little bit of structure paste with my palette knife to this. And basically what I'm doing is I'm adding texture to texture really, and all I'm doing is mixing that, so I've got a little bit more texture going on. And it's really up to you. You might just want to stick to the structure paste, you might want to add other things. At this point, all I want to do is add a little bit of this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this with the grits and start to build upon this. Just start to do that. So it's quite nice. I like the structure of that. So it doesn't have to be everywhere, it can just be at places. So then I'm going to wipe that clean on that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take the structure paste and start to build some of the areas as well. So let's see how we can do this. So the easiest way for me is just to add it. I'm actually going to cover the sides a little bit here at the bottom, because the whole idea is we're now adding, as it says, structure to this book. We don't really want to see the pages, you can have. And then I'm going to take some of that beaded bit I've done as well, so I can have more structure, even more so than I've already got. And then this is going to be a combination. So can you see how I'm adding that? So it's really, really easy to do. There we go. And then you keep adding that until you're actually quite happy with the edges. So I'm actually going to add a little bit more into the book pages here, because I'm looking for structure. It's, you know, this is where all the effects are going to come in for the actual edges. So there we go. And then again, let's add a little bit more into this with our, the beads. Let's lift that bit up. Can you see that, what I'm doing? I'm not moving it out of the camera too much. And basically what we're now doing is we're just adding depth to the sides. And again, it's up to you how much you want to add, how little you want to add, and how much texture you want to add. You know, I'm quite happy with the way it's looking so far. So I'll just wipe my palette knife here. And again, I mean, this structure paste gives it really nice texture as well. So let's just do that. And obviously this can take a a little while to dry, but while you're doing that, we're going to be working on the rice paper. So I want to add a little bit more texture here. Just pat it down with your palette knife if you're having difficulty scraping it on. So that's what I'm doing. Or you just want to add different types of texture and just go in with that. I just like this. You've got some bits which are smooth, I want some bits which are heavier. Now I'm going to do the other sides as well. So I'm going to add more texture to the sides than I am to the bottom. So I'm going to do this side now, a little bit more. And again, what I've been showing you, let me pick that up again, is I'm going to start adding a little bit more texture to this. So here we go. So can you see how much texture that's adding? That's quite a lot of texture there, but that's exactly what we want. And save some of your 3D balls and texture, because we might add some to the actual main body of the book as well. So can you see how I'm doing that? It's just going on really easily. And the structure paste is beautiful to work with, because it really is. Gives you that real depth to your sides, which is not always easy. So let me put that there as well, so you can see how that is working. So there we go. So can you see how that is? That is really, really nice. And we're just going to start putting on a little bit more texture here. So I'm patting it. I find the patting raises it a little bit. It also adds a little bit more texture. You can always go back in again if you feel you haven't added enough texture. Can you see how I've done that? So you can just see it's absolutely beautiful. So let me see if we can do a little bit more here. Right, there we go. So again, add a little bit more texture to what you've already added. Just gives it a bit more depth. It gives it a bit more, when you come to actually do the actual metallic on top of this, the more texture you have, the more you'll see the different definitions. So again, I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to rub a little bit onto the top as well, because that's quite nice to give it that gritty finish. Now, oops, flicking this away. I'm going to do the corners here. You see how I'm doing those corners, how rugged that's already starting to look. Now, it's up to you. You could even leave the sides if you wanted to. So we've got this beautiful texture. Look at that. So much texture. So we can see all of that texture, yeah? So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to just put a little bit on the sides as well. So the best way to do that for me is just to hold my book up and just go in. And again, I'm not going to texture it all. I like the fact that some of it's textured, some of it's still plain, and some of it's got a little bit more texture on it. There we go. Let me do a little bit more on the other side. And again, you're not using a lot of product. Structure paste, again, it's got a really nice smooth finish that you can work with, or you can make it more structured and more depth. You could even use, a stencil to create more depth. So it's really up to you. So I'm quite pleased with the sides as well. It's given it a really nice finish. Now I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to do the back of it as well. So really I've added the 3D more to the front than I have to the sides. So again, I'm just building that in, and you're going to see more of the top of the book and the top edges of the book than you're going to see of the sides. But again, we want it to look nice, we want it to be nice on the mantelpiece, or as just a little piece of display really, for someone to be drawn to. So it's quite nice because it's something you can put flat versus something you have to put up on the wall. So that's really nice as well. So there we go. And this could be used for so many, this technique, just this alone, could be used for so many different things on canvases. It could also be used in actually doing a menu book, or putting a menu here, or just creating that beautiful effect is just lovely. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding a little bit, not too much, a little bit of structure paste onto the top just to break it up a little bit, because I like the smoothness, but I don't want too much smoothness. And again, I can use a bit more of the, if you push this down, you'll get these sort of sitting where you want them. So I'm going to put a few here, but not too many. I'm going to put a bit more over here. And if you find that they're not sticking as well, you can always put a little bit of glue down and stick it down, or you can just take, which is what I'm going to do, is take some more structure paste, just putting that in my little pot, and stick it down using that as well, because the structure paste is wetter once you've got the beads in it. It dries it out a little bit. So I'm just tapping it on and wiping off my palette knife just to make sure I've got everything where I want to. And if there's any loose bits, doesn't matter, don't worry about that too much. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to wipe clean my palette knife. And I tend to use the same palette knife all the time for this sort of technique, because you know you will get it to stick on it. And I'm just going to do a little bit of cleaning over here, which is rare for me. Just move that across. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tap my book so that if there's any excess on it, so it's all off there. Now, the next step for me is I'm going to give this to Pip to dry while I'm there. Well, we're just going to put it aside. And I'm going to concentrate now more so on the actual rice paper and show you some techniques with that. Right, so that.
Thank you, DALI.
Thank you, sweetheart.
We'll get this dry
Pretty
for you.
sister. I think it'll probably be okay while I'm doing the other bits, but by all means. So, next step, let's put all this aside. Make sure you put your lids onto your products. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this rice paper. Okay, let me just move these little 3D balls have decided to escape me. Right, so this is the beautiful rice paper. You see that? Beautiful. So what? No, that's fine, Pip. That's great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another little plastic tray, and I'm going to add some of this beautiful Lasur. Now I'm using the pink orange, and I may use the pine. When I say it's magenta and it's orange, and I really love these two rich colours. Just using a brush, so they can act as watercolours. They can be added to the paste as well. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to just start by just adding a little bit of colour. Not too much, just a little bit. I'm going to start actually with her lips. So I've decided she's going to have really nice magenta lips. Don't worry if it goes too much out the lines or anything. I'm not too worried. And just take that in and just add that. And again, I'm just going to work my way through. I hope you can see this, and I'm not putting my head in the way. I'm just going to work my way through, just adding a little bit of colour. Not too much, but just a little bit. And this is where the Lasurs are absolutely beautiful, other than on, obviously on Word. And it's just such a versatile product. So inexpensive, so user-friendly. And I'll start to show you what the other side looks like in a minute. So, and again, you can add as much. You could leave it black and white and have the writing showing through your book. You could leave it parts coloured. You could leave it all coloured. You could add this to stone paper and lift it. You know, there's just so many possibilities with rice paper. And I must admit, these are probably one of my best designs that we've come with, that we feel add that really beautiful, lush feeling. But bear in mind that this, you know, the Lasurs can bleed a little bit, but, you know, for me, it's more, you'll see how subtle it is on the other side anyway. It's not too much of a problem. So if I turn it over, you can see that some of it's coming through, and it's coming through at different places. So it's absolutely beautiful. Just bear in mind, it will bleed through, because, you know, rice paper is translucent. It's got some fibres in it. But, you know, I'm just randomly, you know, DALI, she randomly is just adding colours too. Now, if you don't want it to bleed too much, all you can do is just put it really a thin layer. But I don't mind this look. So I'm just going to put a little bit on her cheeks as well. Not too much, because I don't want her face to be coloured. and you know, very, very forgiving. And you need so little. So I don't know what this is going to turn out like because I haven't done this one, but don't I always say that to you? So I'm going to add a little bit. So and then I'm going to start to come in with the orange as well. I mean, this design is absolutely beautiful to colour. I mean, you could take your Kuretake pens to this. You could take your alcohol ink pens. So you could really go to town on this. So I'm going to add a little bit of the orange now. So you need very, very little. If I showed you how little I've been putting in my tray, where am I? It is tiny, weeny bits. So again, and you can mix the colours. So you've got all these different colours, you know, by just having a few colours. You could cut this out and stick it down rather than just doing it as a whole. There's just so many elements that you could do with this. So, and it's lovely to mix the two colours because you get this really nice purpley colour as well. So, sort of warmer orange tones, autumny colours. So it's just with two colours we're going to manage to do. And I don't mind if I go outside the lines, stay in the lines, because I think that's what's creating this beautiful effect. So let's carry on with doing a little bit of colouring. So at home, obviously take your time. I always want to get as much in as I can. So now can you see how that is looking? This looks absolutely beautiful. So let me carry on with a little bit more colouring here. And you sort of can create a watercolour effect, you can create just a general effect. It doesn't have to be perfect, which is what I like about this technique as well. It's a little bit more maybe of the orange, because we've got quite a lot of pink up at the top. And these colours blend so well and lend themselves. Now if Pip was doing this, everything would be within the lines. Everything would be perfect. But it isn't Pip doing it, it is DALI doing it. So she's very, very good. And I'm just a little bit more rebellious when it comes to my art. But in life, she's much more rebellious than I am. So you can just see how easily you can just add colour. And this is the beauty of it, is that you can make this your own. So you can just see all I'm doing, sort of following the black and white. I mean, you could easily put this on a piece of paper, put it through your scan and cut, get a really beautiful cut from it. And you could do so much. So I'm just sort of going in there. You know, you can dilute these down, but I do love the colours. They're absolutely beautiful. These two colours really do lend themselves to work together. And you know, it can all be a little bit different. You could put another pop of colour in. We do Lasurs, I believe, in about 8 colours. So, you know, I've just chosen these really bright colours. So, and which I absolutely love. A little bit more. So, you know, don't be afraid of these. And I just love the way they work. With the fact that you can get so much depth or so little depth by shading and making them darker and lighter. So I just love that effect. So just take your time when you're doing it at home and just look at what you want to do. But this is I like the fact that I can just go in there and just do what I want to do. Get a little bit more orange there. Let's put that a little darker down there. So you can go back in again and start shading a little bit more if you want to. You can really do whatever you want to do. So I'm quite pleased, you know, that's the way I've done this. So now this is something that has to also be dried because if it isn't dried, what happens, it will start to bleed into each other when you add the matte medium to stick it into your little project. So let's have a look if I've got anywhere else I want to add a little bit of colour. And again, if you see areas that you want to add the colour back into, or you think you should add more to, you know, this is easy to do. So let me just finish this bit off here. You know, and there might be areas that you decide that you want to colour back anyway. So now if I show you her, she is absolutely looking absolutely beautiful. And then if you look at the reverse and you think, I think I need a little bit more of this, or I need a little bit more of that, just go in again with your Lasurs on the reverse, which is what I'm working on. You could work on the other way, it's up to you, and just go in and just add a little bit more colour because you can. So if you want it to make it pop a bit more, then make it pop a bit more. So I felt there was a lot of orange down here, so I'm going to add a little bit more pink into this area. And really, these are beautiful papers. We've got a set of 3, which I know we have on special. So you can really make either journal books, which we'll be sharing with you as well, some journaling. There's so much we've got to share with you. And now we're together, you know, we can do a little bit more together and share some of our experiences, our own personal techniques across the UK, across the world, in Canada, North America. So this is absolutely, you know, brilliant for us. So I'm quite pleased with that. I don't really want to do much more with that. What I might do is maybe, no, I think I'm going to leave it. Now what I want to do is, which I don't usually do, is I'm actually going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to actually cut elements off of this. Now, like I say, I don't usually do this, but this is, usually I just tear it, but I want this bit to be quite sleek. Now it doesn't mean to say that I won't go in and tear the rest when I go to put it down, but I just want to take this bit of the face. So this is, like I showed you, is going to be my centre bit. So let me turn this around so you can see what I'm doing. So let's go in. I'm going to actually take this bit off as well. And then I'm going to cut it across. I do want to save some of this rice paper. And the reason for that is I'm going to actually stamp onto it with the beautiful stamp that this comes with. Oh, thank you, Pip.
You're welcome.
My lovely sister has dried the book for me. So we'll be moving on to the next stage. So don't worry, I will be doing the same for her when it's her turn to make a video. So I'm just going to go up to the top, and I'm actually I'm going to keep this little bit here, I've decided. And in fact, just take that away. And so now what I've done is I've got 2 pieces that I've cut away totally. So they're 2 cut away, which I'm going to use. So the next thing I need to do is just rinse my brush out. Sorry, I'm just leaning across, that's okay. And I'm going to, I'll move my water across so I don't have to lean across. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some water, and I'm going to take this little face and just do it. So you can see how I'm taking the water and I'm just taking this away. So it's a really lovely technique to do. Pip's just taken us a few still shots as well, so you can see exactly how badly I have coloured this in. So what I'm going to do now, I've wet it with a bit of water, I'm going to start pulling that apart. So I don't want straight edges when I put it in the book, but I want it to still have an element of its own. So if it has, doesn't matter, but do save, this is going to be very important, we save all these edges, because I'm going to be using them to put some of the sentiments on, some more designs onto it. So all I'm doing is I'm just pulling that away. If you find it easier, put it on the table and pull away. If you find it more difficult, you can even use your scissors to cut away and then just fray the edges. So it's very, very forgiving. So I've kept all of this, and I will show you what I'm going to be doing with this. So just make that a little bit more. So that's where we've got to. So I've got a little bit here which I think I'd like to break it down a little bit. Now if you want to, you can add a little bit of water to the back of your design. So let's just pull that away. Add a little bit of water to the back of your design, just to, if you feel you want to blend a little bit more while it's still, you haven't dried, just blend that in a little bit more. So if you've missed any bits, you can sort of blend it a little bit. So there we go. So once you've done that, you've got this really beautiful image. Right, let me just wipe that a little bit. Right, so now I've got that, and Pip has actually very kindly dried the book. Now don't worry, because bits will always fall off initially until we start setting it with paint and stuff. But can I just show you very quickly how this is going to look within this? So it's a beautiful journal page. Now if you feel you want to cut still bits away, you can do. You know, I quite like the way this sits. I'm just going to show you because I'm going to do the sides of the book. But I might actually stick mine down. Now this is a choice again. You could stick yours first or you could stick yours afterwards. So can you see now how I've put that together and how lovely that is as a journal page? Let me move this back a bit for us, or forwards I should say. Can you see how that's working? That could be a journal page. That could just be your book like we're doing it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the matte medium, which is used for sticking rice paper down. So that's this. Oh, I see I've got a new one. Pip, do we have any open of the matte medium?
Oh, yes, I think we have.
I think we might have some open.
I'm just giving you all the new stuff.
She's giving me all the new stuff. I'm very spoiled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the matte medium down first. And don't worry about all this because it all adds to the texture. Oh, thank you, sis. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the matte medium, and I'm going to just put the matte medium straight onto the actual page. So can you see that? Sorry. There we go. So here we go. And I just love this because you've got this writing, you've got a bit of texture going on in the background. And you know, you're recycling and you'll see some of those words through the face, which was the whole idea. So you just want to make sure everything's going to be sticking. So I'm going to put quite a bit into the middle here. So there's a little bit of an overlap there. And the idea is when you ever use decoupage medium, you always put it on your substrate, i.e. the piece of work you're working on. This will then make sure that your rice paper is actually stuck really well. And then what you do is you start to, and if you find it's lifting, just go back in again and start doing that. So if you find anywhere it lifts, then just add a little bit, like I'm going to go back in on these sides so you can see how I'm doing that. And then I'm going to go back in and do a little bit more over here. Okay, so we don't want any of this lifting. Now I haven't dried the Lasur, so we may get a little bit of smudging, but I think we're okay. Because I've done it from the back and I'm going over the top now, it seems to be okay. So, but I love, see, I think I should have a bit more medium here because what's happening is it's not actually going in. So then once you'll know the feel of this, and you'll understand, because otherwise what's going to happen is this is all going to start to lift. And you need it underneath as well as you do on the top to set it. And anywhere you've not put it in, you'll start to get sort of what I call air bubbles. So initially on something like this where you've got texture going on underneath, you will need more than you would normally, say if you were sticking it. So I love the way that writing's coming through on her face and how much colour she's got. And how vibrant it is. Now this is very different to the other ones we did, and even though Pip's the one who's the more vibrant of us two when it comes to artwork, I think I'm taking a little bit of a leaf out of her book, so you can just see, and she's very happy about that. we've been busy designing papers, we're busy doing a lot of things, especially now that we're together for a while. We're really finding another new lease of life and hopefully keeping you entertained at the same time. So let me just pick that up. Rice paper is very forgiving. Now if you try to do this with a napkin or a decoupage paper, you wouldn't be able to get the same effects. Rice paper is something that you can really work with, and I really do find it's something you can really enjoy on lots and lots of things. So we could have created the same effect onto a fabric bag, glass plate. So I just make sure you've covered this, because obviously it will start to lift as time goes on. If there's anything you're not happy about or anything, then just go back in again. So this bit, I'm just going to go over here and do this bit as well. There we go. So you don't need a lot, but you need a reasonable amount to be able to stick your paper down. And I love the way this comes together, because there's no start or finish, and we're going to take away some of the harsher lines at the bottom as well. But at the moment, this is where, so shall I just show you how that is looking? Isn't that beautiful? I mean, that's just a piece of art in itself, I have to say. So, and then what I talked about was, is I still wanted elements on the other page. Now it's just a matter of working out how you want these elements to be. Now for me, I quite like that element maybe up there, or maybe even an element down here. So she's got a little bit more coming over here. So we've left that, but or we could have a little statement there. So let's have a look. So first thing to do is take a wet brush and again do that rough cutting out of these. So I'm just taking a wet brush like I've shown you, and I'm pulling away. One thumb underneath, one thumb beside. And again, put that piece of paper down. Again, you can even go in, touch the tips on your hands and pull. Because I don't want this to be too perfect. So we want this to be, I mean, sometimes you can, like for example this one, if I wanted to put it at the edge like that, then that's quite nice, and I quite like that there actually, now that I'm thinking about that. So let's put that one down first. And this is really your interpretation of them. And we've got, like I said, the butterfly kisses, we've got Florana. You can really decoupage them up. You can really make your book 3D. This is more of a flat image, but if you wanted to make it more 3D, of course you could. You could have this as a popping book. There's just so many ideas. I keep thinking every time I do it that I want to do something different. So again, wet the edges. I want to keep all this paper because I want to stamp onto it with a stamp and add those as my details. So can you see how I'm just pulling, how easy it is? If you get a fibre and you struggle, just cut it and just do that. So you can just see, look, it's so easy to pull away, and keep doing that. And it doesn't matter if you take a little bit of the design away, it's not about it being perfect. So let me just take that all away and see where we can get to. See, look, got a fibre there, pull at it or cut it, whatever you feel more comfortable with. So, and again, if you feel this is how you want it to be, then do that. Or from the top, like I quite like, I'm going to wet this bit at the edge. I'm going to pull away from that, just a little bit, but enough, because I think I would quite like this. So there's a really big fibre there. I don't know if you can see that. So if you want that to be moved, you're going to have to go in and cut it out. There's no way I will be able to. Oh, sorry, I was out of camera. There was a big fibre there, and basically it was just really difficult to tear that bit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it to the top of my book. Can you see that? Because I quite like the effect of it to be, I haven't decided how I want it yet, but I'm thinking, do I want, so I'm just thinking, how do I want this? And at the moment, I'm not sure, but I'm getting, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this again, because I think it's too big a piece to put on it together. So I'm just going to take at random just a piece out. I've followed a little bit of a line, and again I've got a massive, oh sorry, I'm out of the camera again, a massive fibre. So what I'm going to do, can you see that fibre on the back? Probably, but I've coloured it, but it's quite thick. So I'm going to snip through that fibre. That's the only way you're going to get across that fibre. No amount of water is going to allow you to do that. So I've split this again, and so that I can create more of a border where I want it, and I can control it better. So this is where I want this piece. So I'm going to take a little bit of my matte medium, and we've got a really nice bit of rough area there as well. So let me show you that. And here we go. And I'm going to stick that down. Don't worry it goes over the top, or it really is all about creating some texture. And then again, use your brush to take it over the top and underneath. And anywhere you've missed it, just go back in again and do it. So I think underneath here I haven't even put any. So even on the edges you can go over it. And it doesn't matter, you want to take off any of the edges. Okay, so we've got a little bit of raised bit there, we've got a little bit. So if you want to pull this bit off, you can do. It really is up to you. So we're getting a little bit now. Shall I show you what that's looking like? So let me put that in. There we go. So hopefully you can see that a little bit better. There we go. There we go. Okay. So now what we're doing is we're basically. Do you like that, Pip?
Oh, it's so pretty, so bright.
Yeah, it's really.
It's so neat how you can do so many different techniques depending on like looks of it. I should say, not techniques. It's
definitely.
You can set it to match your home decor. It's a great statement piece.
It is, and I know we love ours. So I'm going to split this again because I feel it's still too big for me the way I want to do it. So I'm just splitting that again. And again, you can do this as one piece across your artwork, or you can do it like I've done it, where I'm trying to sort of also set it as a border a little bit, but I don't want to. You don't have to use every single piece. Again, I'm going to split this bit because I really love this little flower. And in fact, do you know what? I'm going to put this little flower right in the corner here because I felt I had a little bit of gap there, and I just didn't know what to put into it. Now I know exactly what I want to put into it. And sometimes it just comes to you because you see something, and it really is coming together. And we'll show you some still photos of this as well. And again, I'm trying to think, where shall I put this? So, you know, it's always, I haven't planned any of this, so I don't know exactly where it can go. So it's a matter of, you don't have to use it all, by the way. It's a matter of where do you want to put this. And again, I'm just thinking, maybe this piece can go here. I'm not sure. I just want a little bit more from this side, and I think that would be nice there, because again, we want to break up the page, but at the same time we don't want to take away from it. So that's exactly what I'm doing, is adding rather than taking away. And you know, you wouldn't know that those pieces weren't meant for each other. Now I can see that this would balance the top out. And again, this is your project. These are just ideas, just tips to show you what you can be doing with all these rice papers you have. And I know you all have them. And if you don't, and you're looking at doing something, or something as a gift rather than a card, this is a really lovely gift. You could even put somebody's best recipe on this. You could put some of their words on this. Now, I talked about, I put my brushes in the water. I talked about, I'm just going to leave that there for a moment, and you can just have a look at that. Can you see that? All of those pieces just using that one rice paper. Now, this is optional. Obviously, this is something you can do, and I will come back to this. Let me just reach across. I've got this beautiful stamp, which is a matching stamp, and it's got some really lovely sentiments. So you've got stay wild and free, peace, love, joy. So I'm going to use that stamp, but I'm going to stamp on two. the actual rice paper bits that I've got left. So let me do that and show you how easy it is to stamp onto this rice paper. Now this has all been created by Stamperia for us. So we're very, very grateful for them giving us the opportunity to create our own rice papers. And we will be bringing you some more in the future as well. And we're working on it. It takes time, as you all know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a VersaFine, just a stamping block, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to be doing. So now you can add this however you want to, but I really love this sentiment, stay wild and free. So I'm just going to position that onto my little block and just make sure it's the right way, and it doesn't matter if it isn't because we're going to be using this, so I'll just show you how that works. So just find a piece that you think it will work with, which I think is really nice, is down here, and just press that down, and I'll kind of show you that it's just so beautiful on there, and it's just so subtle. And basically that's what I wanted to create. Now what I want to do is just take this off and wipe this down. I just tend to wipe them down with a wipe, and then I'm going to take another part of the stamp, just show you. There's this really beautiful sort of motif also on here, which would give you some really nice little elements as well. So you can just see, if you wanted to, you could just go in and do some faint ones if you wanted to just add further character to your thing. So I'm going to be using that. I'm just going to set that aside. But also what you can do, because these stamps are just so versatile and they're so beautiful, is just take the stamp and just basically, I'm going to put a little one there because I want to, remember I talked about breaking it up a little bit? I'm just breaking some of those designs up. Obviously you have to be aware that you haven't got a flat book anymore, and you may have bits on it that aren't going to allow you to do it. So what I'm doing is I'm just going in and in. If you find you have any problem with the block of doing it, the other thing you can do is just take your stamp and just use it, and that way you'll create more of an image. So what I've done here, can I show you? So because it's very hard to do it with the block. So what you want to do is you just want to take it off the acetate. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this because I really like it, and it adds so much character back in. So you can just add it a little bit on the edges. So that's exactly what I'm doing. So just use your stamp. You can use all of your stamp, you can use part of it. So I just want to use bits of it. I don't want it to be anything in particular. And so I've added a little bit of character to it. And then we've got these beautiful little words as well on this stamp set, like joy, love. And again, you can just put those on and just take that. And we can even put a little joy over here. And again, just be careful, because what you'll find is you're going to have difficulty, and we're going to if the book isn't level. So don't worry about that too much. It's not always about perfection, but I'm going to use all of these: peace, love, joy, and just going to put those on to this book. And I just think it just adds a little bit more to the book. I mean, if you wanted to, and you really wanted to do this, you can always stamp this before you even set it aside. Now can you see how that adds a little bit more? You've got a bit of joy going on there, a bit of peace up here, and really it's just adding to that whole background. And it's from that stamp set. You could even use the actual stamp itself and add to it as well. And I just love this effect. I just think it's just so pretty. Just put the love on the edge so I don't have to ink it all up. There we go. And let's put a little bit of love just over here. So what we're doing is we're looking for spaces, balance, and there we go. And I'm really pleased with that. Now there is a massive stamp on this. It is huge. It's the girl. Now if you wanted to, you could even use her, the edges of her, just to create a little bit more background. So she's got this beautiful, beautiful edge. Just one little edge. And if you wanted to, you could just go in and create with that as well. So say if we wanted to create a little bit in here, we could do. Okay, so it just breaks up a little bit of the writing, but at the same time it keeps it all within what we're trying to do. So let's leave that as that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to that little bit of writing we did. Stay wild and free. And what I'm going to do is I'm just tearing up the little bit of rice paper that we've already done it with. And we're going to bring this in and we're going to stick this down as well. So this is another way of doing it. So if you struggle with the book, stamping onto the book, stamp onto the rice paper and then you can stick that in as well. So look at a place where you think you would like it. So I quite like it there. Oops. And I've got lots of rice paper left, so I could go in and do a lot more yet if I wanted to. So again, take your matte medium, go in, stick it down, and you have this beautiful sentiment. So, which is absolutely lovely. If you feel you've gone over a little bit, over the top of the design, I'm just going to move mine across. And it's as easy as that because you can lift it until it dries. Okay, that's one part of that done. So now we're getting to the point where we're going to start doing the sides. Can you see all of that? I haven't made too much mess. There we go. Can you see how that's coming along now? So there's that beautiful sentiment there, and there's this beautiful. Now what we're going to start doing is we're going to start pulling all this together by using the beautiful Glamour paint. So let me show you how beautiful these are. There we go. And again, you can take a little bit of the, oh look at that, look at the richness, can you see that? It's absolutely beautiful. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to start colouring with it on the sides. Don't worry if any of the structure paste comes off or any of that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that to the edges as well, because the colour really works so well with these Lasurs. I mean, it is, I can't tell you how beautiful it is. I don't know if we're going to be able to capture this for you as well on camera, but what I can say to you is it is absolutely beautiful. That really is making the book. And I'm doing all the edges, and again you can bring this in onto your top of your frame as well, so there's no harm, there's no rhyme or reason why you can't use some of it just to bring it all in on top as well. So I just love this look. I mean, this Glamour is absolutely beautiful, and she is very glamorous, my little girl. So she may be wild, but she is glamorous. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking this on to the sides, and you can see how rich that is. So you can just see how I'm getting on with that. Can you see this, Pip? It's really lovely.
It's such a vibrant gold.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I can't remember which one it is. It does, doesn't it? I can't remember. Can you just...
That is
it antique?
the antique gold Glamour metallic.
Isn't it
so
beautiful?
Many different colours.
I know. There's 8, I think, isn't there? Or 9?
There are 8.
So all I'm doing is I'm not going to colour it all too much, because I'm actually going to add a little bit of Lasur into this to add a little bit of colour at the sides. Now again,
absolutely beautiful.
So she's just so different. Can you see that? The detail.
Looks like little gold nuggets.
It does, doesn't it? So I don't want to cover it all, because I quite like the openness of the colour. And again, like I said, you know, this you can do. And again, I'm just taking it to the edges. Can you see how I'm doing that? More of a dry brush technique on the edges. and then just taking that in. So this is just going to be so lovely. It's such a lovely gift as well, you know, for someone, especially at the moment. It's so, you know, so much going on. So, and what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to bring this in, tidy that up a little bit, because I want to bring some of this gold dry brushed onto the top as well, because that's what's adding a bit of glamour to her. And if you want to go in bits and just highlight her, then you can as well, which is what I love about this, because the glamour is so glamorous. Now this isn't really what I do, this is a bit more non-grungy for me, but it just proves that if you give you a set of materials which are slightly out of your comfort zone, you as artists, creatives, you will find something to do with them. I always do. And I'm absolutely loving this because, like I say, it's a little bit out of my comfort zone, but she is looking a little bit. And again, we now can add, you can add gems to this, you can add other elements to this. It doesn't have to stay like this. So, and what I'm doing is I'm just going over with the glamour. Now, what I might do is I might bring a little bit of pink and orange, not too much. I'll try this on the sides first. And you should always test things first. Obviously, DALI doesn't always try and test things because that wouldn't be DALI. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit and I'm just going to bring a little bit to the sides. So all that will do is it will just break up that bit of white, but again, it will bring what's at the front to the forefront at the back. So that's all I'm doing. Not too much, because I don't want to take away from this beautiful gold I've just added. So, and again, you can still go back in with a lot of this, so not too much. And then I'll show you some of the effects that I've created with this. So I really love this sort of, this finish on it. It's just so rich and so beautiful without it actually distracting from the main image, which is most important, because you don't want it to detract from the main image, because it just wouldn't look right, I don't, in my opinion. So we're just going to bring a little bit more of that in, not too much. If you wanted to do the edges a little bit more, again, the sides. And I just love the way that you can bring this all in without it detracting from any of it. So there we go. And I love the vibrancy of these colours. It's just so pretty. So just see that. So can you see how I've done all that now? So it's come together really well. And again, the Lasurs will take to most items. Just move that out of the way. So we've got that. Now the next thing for me would be, I need a few splashes in there. Splashes, they say. And Lasur's lovely to splash with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the pink, take a little bit of the orange. So really what I've been using all along. And I'm going to add those. So let's just add a little, just flick it onto the bottom. I don't want too much. Whoops, got a bit of a rice paper floating there. So just be careful, don't add too much, but just add enough to add a little bit of colour to this book. And that's what I like about mixed media, is that you can add it, and even if you make a little bit of a mistake, you won't take away your main image. And again, take a little bit of the pink, because we can, and you can do as little as you like or as much as you like. Even use it a little bit more to drag a little bit down if you want, because you've got it on the brush. And I mean, you can go to town on this. And the other thing I was thinking I would like to do is maybe add a little bit more black to this. Maybe, but I'm not sure yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of bead paste as well. Bead paste is beautiful. It's like crystal glass. You can see Pip has used this because she always leaves the covers on. I never do. She does. So you know when it's her product and you know when it's mine. So what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of bead paste. And when this dries, it will dry glossy, but it will give you again more texture. Let's put some up in her hair here. Let's put a little bit in the flowers here, a little bit here. And again, all I'm doing is randomly adding this. But you wait when it's dry, and we'll take some still photos for you as well. And you can see how beautiful she will look. So, not too much. And I'm going to add a little bit just to gloss up her eye as well, because that will look really lovely. Too much, but enough. There we go. And this will dry. A little bit over here, a little bit over there. So this will have a little bit of gloss going on, so that's quite nice as well. So just randomly added that as well. And it's, again, these are optional things. You can add these, you don't have to add them, but what it will do is it will give you a really beautiful finish to your artwork. And the next thing I want to do is I just want to take, in fact I'll probably just take the lid off of one of these, and then what I want to do is what I tend to do is just put that down, not too much, because we don't want it to be too much colour. And what I will do is, take that, I shouldn't really, but I will. And I'm going to add a bit of that Glamour paint just to the edge of my lid to give you some more glamour, as they would say. So put that in your tray, a little bit of Glamour, and then put your lid into it, and then just go in and just add a little bit more Glamour to your project. Not too much. If you find that you're finding it hard to do it that way, you can always add it to your craft mat as well. So it's not a lot, but it's just enough to break it. And if you find it, you're finding it a little bit harder, what I do is I just take the brush and I just put it on the edge, but don't tell Pip. So it's just a matter of breaking it all up, but not, you can overdo it, and Pip will probably say I will. So, but I really like the fact that I've created this beautiful, whether you call it a journal page, whether you call it a book, shabby book that you put down the side, or you just leave it as it is. So it's just a matter of breaking it up and just doing what you think is what is right. So not too much, not too little, just enough to give it a little bit more definition. So what do you think so far, Pip?
What do I think?
Yes, I think I could leave it here. What do you think?
I think so. I always like to leave my stuff and then come back to it.
Okay.
I think when it's proper and dry, maybe even come in with a little bit of wax paste to highlight some areas, give it more of an antiquing look. But I do love the brightness.
Yeah? Oh,
it's absolutely
thank you.
Stunning.
Thank you.
I don't know, I like it as it is.
Okay, we're going to leave it then at that.
Oh, well done.
Oh, thank you, sis.
Brilliant.
So I absolutely adore that. Now you can see I've used one rice paper, one recycled book, a stamp, some Lasur, a little bit of structure paste, a little bit of Glamour paint, and really you can add as much as you like. I mean, what I might do is I might add a couple of gems just into her hairline. And then what we'll do is we'll take some little pictures of what I've done to finish her off. But thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. This is going to be a first of many of our videos, and Pip's going to be doing one, which we'll be sharing with you shortly too. All right then, bye-bye for now, and take care and stay safe.
Yeah, bye
everybody.
everyone. Stay safe.
Bye.